What's up everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. I decided to show you guys how I do my everyday makeup. So what's really great about this is a lot of the products that I'm using are drugstore. So you can access this anywhere you're at, which makes it so much better and it's cheaper. So let's get started. So I already washed my face and I put on my moisturizer. What I do next before I start anything is put on my primer. So the primer that I'm using is going to be L'Oreal and it's the Infallible Matte Lock Primer. So what I do is I put a little bit of this on my finger, about that much, you don't need a lot. And then I'm gonna just rub that into my skin like I would a moisturizer. But I mainly focus it on like my T-zone and then a little bit on my chin. So let's do that. I dot it in the places that I need it. And then I just start rubbing it in. Now let's go ahead and get started with my eyes. So what I always start with is putting concealer on my eyelids, because if you don't put concealer and you try to just put eyeshadow or eyeliner on your eyelids, you're gonna have like the discoloration. So you always wanna cover that up. So I'm gonna take my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in number 20, which is Sand. And I'm gonna put that on my eyelid. And then I'm gonna use this e.l.f. blending brush to just blend it out. So let's go ahead and do that. And I like to keep my eye closed when I'm doing this, so that way it doesn't crease. And at first I swipe it, but then I start tapping it, so that way I don't take off too much concealer. Because if you swipe too much, it's all just gonna go onto the brush and you don't want to lose it all. And while I'm tapping that in, I'm gonna take my Rimmel Stay Matte powder in transparent, and that's what I'm gonna set my eyelid with. Then I'm gonna take my e.l.f. brush, and it's my e.l.f. small tapered brush, and I'm just gonna tap that onto my eyelid. And notice I'm keeping my eye closed because I don't want to cause any creasing. And I'm just tapping the powder on. If you swipe, you're not gonna get as good coverage, and it's not gonna get in all the creases. Right? So that's that. And I use my e.l.f. small tapered brush for setting the eye. Okay, so now that we've got both eyes set, I'm gonna move on to my eyeliner. So because it's an everyday look, I'm not gonna go all out and I'm gonna go nice and simple. What I'm actually gonna do is use my eyebrow kit in order to do my eyeliner. So I'm using a Wet n Wild eyebrow kit, and this is actually pretty good for being such a cheap price. I think it's around like $2 or $3. That's awesome in comparison to my $23 Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder Duo, which this is really good, but if you're trying to save some money, then Wet n Wild works. And another option you can find at the drugstore in case you don't find the Wet n Wild one is Revlon Colorstay Brow Kit. This one's also really good. So these are two options that you can buy at the drugstore. And for my Wet n Wild one, it is in the color dark brown. I'm gonna take my e.l.f. Eyebrow Duo Brush, so it looks like this. And I'm gonna use the brush side. And I'm gonna use a mixture of the browns in order to do my eyeliner. And because it's an eyebrow kit, it's not gonna be as pigmented as normal eyeshadow. So what I like to do is start in the center and then go out, and then I'll go back in. So I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. So now I'm gonna do a super little wing. So I'm gonna take the lighter shade in the center and then tap off the excess. And I'm gonna take, you see how it's angled? I'm gonna take that top sharp angle and use that as a guide to wing in. So I know this is a little weird, but I'm gonna start out where I want it to start and then I'm gonna draw it inward, meeting up with the line that I already finished. Now that I have that already there, I'm gonna just go over the top and kind of even it out. So I just finished the other side of my eyeliner, and you can see here, it's really simple, really nice and light, and just complements my brown eyes. And what I'm gonna do next is put on some eyeliner on my lower lash line, but I'm gonna tight line. So I'm gonna use NYX Wonder Pencil. And I'm just gonna tight line my lower lash line. So this is a little bit daunting if you've never done this before, and it can be hard, so if you blink a lot, you could just skip this step because I don't want you to mess up the rest of your makeup. So what I like to do is just kind of pull down ever so slightly. You don't even have to pull down, you could just kind of press and you'll see like the lower lash line come out. Okay, so the reason I like to do this is it just gives it like a brighter look. So now I am going to do my foundation. So we already primed, I've let that settle in. Now I'm gonna do my foundation, and I am going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte foundation, and it's in color 104 Golden Beige. And then I always use the back of my hand, and I wash my hands right before this. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of that on the back of my hand. About that much. And then I'm gonna use the same brush that I used to blend in my concealer on my eyelids. And that's gonna be the e.l.f. blending brush. This thing is so handy, I use it all the time. And I'm just gonna tap into that and rub it into my face. So you'll notice when I'm doing this that I'm not going directly under my eye. I'm gonna leave this open for when I do my concealer. Because if you put foundation there and then you put concealer, it gets too cakey, and we don't want that. So I finished my foundation. As you saw, I didn't use a whole lot. I don't really want too much. I don't want to cake it on too much because then it looks excessive on my face, and I don't want that. So I just put a little bit. Of course, you can add as many layers as you want. You can still see my acne is still poking through, but once I finish and put all my powders on, I think it's gonna be okay. So I'm just gonna leave it like that, and we're gonna move on to my concealer now. And the reason I haven't done my eyebrows yet is because once I powder my face, that powder tends to fall into my eyebrows and my eyelashes. So I like to save my mascara and my eyebrow powder till the end because you don't want it to be full of face powder and then look lighter. So yeah, so what we're gonna do next is my concealer. And I'm gonna use two concealers. We're gonna use the same Maybelline Fit Me Concealer, but this time I'm using two shades. I have my shade 20, which is in Sand that I showed you earlier. And then I have shade 5, which is Ivory. And the reason I'm gonna use a little bit of this is to kind of brighten up my under eye. And the product that I use to set this, unfortunately, is not drugstore. It is very expensive, but I bought this a while back and it has lasted so long, and it is my savior. Like, I can't go without this for my under eyes because my under eyes crease so much, and this product helps a lot with that. And it is the Laura Mercier powder, and I have it in translucent. And this is what it looks like. And it looks like this when you open it. And I'm gonna set that off to the side. And you have to work quickly when you're doing this, because if not, the concealer is just not gonna blend well. So I'm gonna do both my concealers, do it in little sections. So I go 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm gonna take the lighter shade and I'm gonna go in between the sections, but this one I'm gonna be careful, I'm not gonna put too much. This is the best part. I am using a drugstore blender, and it is the Real Techniques one. And I think you could get like a pack of 2 or 3 for like $5, so that's amazing. $5 or $7, one of those, but still great. And I wash this every time before I use it, and I leave it wet so that it blends out very nicely. So what I'm gonna do is blend this out, and I'm just gonna dab it in. Now is where we need to work fast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend again, and then I'm gonna just tap into the powder and tap that into my skin. So you wanna get that in fast because you don't want it to crease before you put the powder, because then once it creases, it's over and it's gonna look like that the whole time. And it just kind of melts into your skin because the Beauty Blender is moist from the water from when I washed it. So it just helps things flow. And now we're gonna move on to my face powder. So for my face powder, I'm going to use two. The best face powder ever that every time I try and change, it just never works because this is my favorite. It is the MAC Studio Fix powder, and I have it in shade NC25. It does have a lot of coverage. I'm almost out of this one. And this is a lighter shade, so this is why I'm gonna mix it with my L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte powder. And this one is in shade 400 True Beige. And I take a big brush like this, and this one is an expensive brush. My sister got me a set for my birthday, so you can just use whatever powder brush you have. This is the Sigma Large Powder in F30. And I'm just gonna tap into this and take whatever's left because there's not that much. And I'm just gonna swirl it on my face. All right, and now I'm gonna take my other shade from the L'Oreal Infallible, and I'm gonna same thing, just tap and go into my face with that. So now that we have the whole face done, it's time to move on to my eyebrows. So I'm gonna be using the same Wet n Wild that we used for my eyeliner and the same brush that we used for my eyeliner, which was the e.l.f. one, and I'm gonna do my eyebrows. So what I'm gonna do is I've kind of been digging a more natural look. So I'm gonna take the center color, maybe even a little bit of the bottom one, and I'm just gonna go in like the center of my brow and just kind of blend it out. Nothing too fancy, just kind of filling in the gaps that I might have. All right, and you can see it got a little darker. And then I just kind of brush it out. And then I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. And then here's another fun product that I just recently got, and it is e.l.f. I use a lot of e.l.f. products now that I realize it, but it is the e.l.f. Wow Brow. It's so cute and small, and it's in natural brown. This is what it looks like, and I'm just gonna open that. And it has like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, it kind of has these little fuzzy things on it that I think is supposed to mimic like hair in your brow. I don't know, but I just kind of wipe off the excess so that way I don't have too much product on my brow. And then I'm gonna take the little brush and I'm just gonna brush out my eyebrow with it. And my brows are done. Something super simple and easy. You don't have to be super precise about your skills and all that, so that makes everything so much better. And now we are going to do my mascara. So I'm gonna take my eyelash curler. When I'm curling my eyelashes, I like to start at the very root and then work my way out. So I'm gonna try my best to show you guys. Hopefully I can get in close and you can see. So I get as close to the root as possible. And then I'm gonna curl that and just kind of work my way out. And you can see immediately I got a huge curl in comparison to the other side. Okay, so sometimes the eyelash curler will mess up like my concealer on the inner corner of my eye, so I'll just take my e.l.f. brush and go over that. And the problem solved. So now that we have our eyelashes curled, I'm gonna go ahead and take my mascara, which is Wet n Wild, and it is the Mega Length Mascara, and it's in Very Black. This is what the applicator looks like. And I'm just gonna carefully run that through my eyelashes. And while we're doing mascara, I do want to say that this is waterproof mascara. I can only use waterproof mascara because that's the only thing that keeps my eyelashes up. If I use regular mascara, they just fall immediately. Also, when I'm applying my mascara, I try not to blink because I've noticed if I try to use the blinking method to get my mascara on, I just mess up and I blink too much and then it ends up getting on the bottom and it's just a whole mess and then you have to wipe off and start over again, and I don't think so. And now I'm going to take whatever's left on my e.l.f. Eyebrow Duo Brush, and I'm just going to go on my under lash line. So both are done, and I'm going to take my mascara and very lightly go over my lower lashes. I don't really have a lot of lower lashes, so I have to be careful with this because I don't want to get it on my skin. And my mascara is done. And then so a finishing touch I like to do is I like to take my eyeshadow brush. This is the Sigma eye shading brush in E55. And it looks like this. It's a little dome. And I'm going to take my Jaclyn Hill palette. And I'm going to take this top shade here. And I'm just going to dab into that and use that as my inner corner highlight. You can use any highlighter that you have or any light eyeshadow. And I'm just going to go in my inner eye. So now we've brightened up the eyes, just a little something to not leave it so dull. And now I'm going to do my bronzer. For my bronzer, I'm going to be taking this Morphe palette that my fiance got me, and it's the Highlight and Contour palette. This is what it looks like in the back. And this is what it looks like when you open it. Morphe is actually pretty affordable. So I'm sure this palette wasn't too bad. I think it was like $18 or $20, which is really good for getting all these shades. It comes with some highlighters too. I'm gonna mix these 3 shades to do my contour, and I'm gonna be using an a Wet n Wild brush, excuse me. I don't know what it's called, but it's just like an angled brush. Sorry, it's a little dirty too. And I'm gonna just tap into the 3 shades, shake off the excess, and I'm gonna start here. And I always go like this, and start here, and then kind of brush it up. And you don't want to come down too much because then it just looks like a mess. And then I kind of take the excess and go up and drag it on my forehead. So that way we give my face some shading. Same thing to my nose. I take the excess. Kind of give myself a mini nose contour. I just squeeze the brush and then go on either side of my nose, underneath. And now we're gonna do my blush, and I have this, I don't know how to say this brand. I think I got it at Target, and it looks like this blush brush. It sheds a lot, just whatever blush brush you have. And then I'm using a very old MAC blush that has lasted me years, but I know the Wet n Wilds have pretty decent blushes for super cheap, but I'm gonna use MAC's blush in Desert Rose. It's super old and still is living to this day. And I'm just gonna go kind of like a smirk and go right here and then blend up. And I really like the rosiness look, so it doesn't bother me. But once I'm done with that, then I just take my big powder brush and I just go over my whole face to kind of blend everything out. And that is it. So the only thing left we have is lips. I'm gonna show you real quick what I do, but basically everything is done. So what I like to do is I typically line my lips. I don't know if I'm feeling it today, but let me show you what I use to line my lips. So I have a MAC lip liner in Spice, but I think I have a drugstore one that I use, yeah. So I have a Jordana one in Tawny. This is what it looks like. But should I line my lips? I guess I can. I'll use the drugstore one just so you guys can see what that looks like. And then I'm gonna take a MAC lipstick in Kinda Sexy. This is my favorite one. It is the best shade. You can use whatever drugstore shade you have that's like a nude pink, and I just dab it on. All right, and then I'm gonna add my NYX Turned Up lipstick. This is what it looks like. It is in shade Mirage. And I'm gonna put it just on the little center here to kind of make my lips look bigger. And I love a good lip gloss. So now I'm going to add my Revlon lip gloss, and it is in the shade Sandstorm. And then if you guys love a good highlighter, I'm gonna use my Laura Geller highlighter in Gilded Honey, and I'm gonna use my fan brush if I can find it. My fan brush is by Real Techniques, and I'm just gonna go on that and go on the high points of my face. And that's it, you guys. That is all I have for you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this look. It's something that's really nice. It just kind of brightens up your face and makes you look a little, you know, healthier, a little glowy. And it's not too much. It's pretty simple to do. As you can see, A lot of the products that I've used are drugstore, so they're really affordable and they last a really long time. That really helps. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this look. If there's anything else you'd like to see from me, make sure to leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Okay, real quick, I just wanted to show you guys how it looked with my hair down. I know my hair's a mess, but this is what everything looks like. My pimples covered up pretty well. They don't look that bad. I mean, you could just see the bump in one of my chin, but it's not bad. Hopefully you guys enjoyed.